We start with this most amazing story, front page of the Mail and other papers. Plagiarism professor resigns as Cambridge investigate.
Cambridge University professor at the center of a growing plagiarism controversy has resigned from all his academic posts.
Jason Arday, professor of sociology, who became Cambridge's youngest black professor in 2023, resigned last night under immense pressure because it suggested that he's basically made up his whole life story. I mean, there's no easy way of saying this, including plagiarizing his work.
It's not small lies, it's massive lies on every piece of his origin story and biography, his books, his publications, his interviews, his scholarly work, across the gamut.
Cambridge's youngest ever black professor just quit, walked away from the top job in his whole field. Why? Because the receipts came out, and once you see them, you cannot unsee them. Let's get into it. So who is Jason Arday? For a few years, he was one of the most famous academics in Britain.
My name is Jason Arday. I'm Professor of Sociology of Education at the University of Cambridge, and I'm very fortunate to be the author of Great and Unfortunate Things. 12 years after learning to read and write, I gained a PhD, and then I ended up becoming one of the youngest professorial chairs in Cambridge's history.
And his story was incredible. In 2023, at 37 years old, he became the youngest black professor in the history of Cambridge University. Now, that's a really huge deal. Cambridge is one of the most respected schools on earth. But it wasn't just a title. It was his incredible backstory. Arday said that he was autistic. He said he didn't speak a word until he was 11 years old. He said he couldn't read or write until he was 18 years old. And somehow he went from that all the way to the top job at Cambridge. The media loved it. Good Morning America, People Magazine, papers all over the world. He was the feel-good story of the year and true inspiration. But then people started to go and check out the details, and that's when it all fell apart.
Anybody can go look. There are pages and pages of verbatim copied text. Cambridge flat out denied the plagiarism charge, even though we can see with our own eyes the text side by side, very extensive examples. He even uses the same copy editing mistakes as the dissertation he was stealing from.
A New Times analysis of the academic's work found that his research contains impossible evidence and is littered with inconsistencies.
So stop and let that sink in. Not a sentence here or there, pages and pages of verbatim copy text. Verbatim means word for word copy. And here's a detail that kills any coincidence defense that he may have. He copied the same editing mistakes as the paper he took it from. Think about that. When you write your own work, you make your own mistakes. You don't magically make the same typos as a stranger. The only way you inherit someone else's mistakes if you copy their homework and didn't even proofread it. There was an error right in the title of his dissertation because he lifted the language from some other person's work and didn't catch it. The title, the one line everyone gets to read first. This is not sloppy citation. That's not, well, he forgot a footnote. And the crazy part of the work that he copied, it was 188 sentences, exact sentences. The chances of two complete strangers writing 188 sentences in the same way is nearly impossible. And speaking about numbers that just don't add up, like especially with how things are like so expensive nowadays, let me put you on something that actually protects your wallet. Gas, groceries, eating out, even on the tightest budget, there's no escaping them. If you've been on this channel since the early days, you know that this channel started with gig economy videos. DoorDash, Uber Eats, doing deliveries, driving all over the city for years. I've been a fan of Upside. I used it back then when I was doing gig work. After a while, it became a habit. I checked it before I even pulled in the gas station. Here's how it works. Open the app, claim an offer, pay with your card like normal, and get paid. That's it. And it's cash back, not points that you'll never use, not credits that expire. It goes straight to your bank account. And with gas prices going crazy these last few months, now is the time. There's over 100,000 spots that take it. Upside has given $1 billion back to its users. It even stacks with your credit card and loyalty rewards. That's cash back on top of your cash back. If you drive a lot of miles, you need this app. Download the free Upside app and use the promo code Hannibal to get an extra 25 cents back for every gallon on your first tank of gas. That's an extra 25 cents back for every gallon on your first tank of gas. Scan the code right here to find out how much you can earn.
They had too few black people in senior roles in their university. They were very keen to get black people in, and therefore getting this guy in as a black person was the priority, irrespective of what they could have analysed in the quality of his work.
Nothing. I mean, if anyone had read any of his articles, they'd have realised immediately that this was not someone who should be in a university at all, really. So,
But
yes,
he'd be good on social media. He'd be good on prospectuses. He'd be good for clicks.
So they're talking about DEI. So the critics aren't just blaming him. They're blaming the people who propped him up, put him there, basically used as a poster boy. Cambridge wanted a feel-good story, a young black professor with an incredible background and backstory. It looks great on the brochures, great for clicks, good for the image. So the critics say they got him in because of how the story looked, but never mind the actual quality of the work. So when you think about it, if this is true, think about how cynical that is. That's not lifting anybody up. That's using a person as a marketing prop, putting someone in a chair they weren't ready for because it makes them look good. Then obviously they're going to hang out to dry when everything falls apart. But really, who failed here? Of course, he's responsible for what he copied. Looks like he copied other people's work, and it looks like he fabricated a lot of his personal life.
I want to talk about just a couple of the lies. He's got a memoir coming out or a book. They report that an initial version of his book published by Simon & Schuster and his speaker bio stated that he has been a prolific fundraiser. I told the audience about this yesterday, raised over 5.5 million pounds for 80 national charities over a 20-year period. And he says, including by running 30 marathons in 35 days, 9 of which were allegedly with a broken leg, 300 miles in 3 days, and 600 miles in 6 days. Simon & Schuster quietly edited Arday's bio at some point between May 19th and July 24th, 2025, to remove the exact amount of money raised by Arday and to omit any mention of the running feats.
But what about the institution that supposedly vetted him? They either didn't read his work or they read it and didn't care. Both are embarrassing. They wanted the headline more than they wanted the truth. So here's where things get actually crazy here. So his supporters put out a letter, a big one. Members of parliament, lords, whatever that is, professors, big names, and it calls the plagiarism claims entirely false. Case closed, right? Not so fast, because the letter got quietly changed after people signed it. At first, the letter bragged that both universities ran thorough investigations and found nothing, but then the scrutiny came, and somebody went back to soften that line. The word thorough gone, deleted, quietly. No note, no announcement, just changed underneath the people who already signed it. And it wasn't just the words. Some big Cambridge names on that letter got scrubbed off too. One professor was listed near the top, and then her name vanished completely. Another one kept his name, but lost his Cambridge title. 14,000 people signed a document defending this man, and the same document keeps getting rewritten in the dark. If the defense is so rock solid, why are the big names backing away? When your own defense letter starts changing a story, that tells you something. Innocent things don't need constant cleanup.
In his resignation letter, Arday said it should not be mistaken for an acceptance of the narratives that have surrounded him.
The relentless accusations, speculation and public commentary have taken a profound toll on me and on those I love.
Arday insists his resignation should not be seen as an admission of wrongdoing and maintains that the campaign against him is racially motivated.
And here he quits. Now, the interesting thing is that there's some people that believe that he wrote that resignation letter with ChatGPT.
Yeah, so Arday published a 600-word resignation letter yesterday, which was published on the website of the Good Law Project. We ran that letter through 4 market-leading AI detection tools. 3 of them came back saying that they believed that the letter was either entirely or almost entirely generated by AI. Now, it should be said that these tools aren't totally foolproof, but they typically tend to look at the sort of markers and signatures that AI-produced text tends to leave, stuff like syntactic uniformity, certain words that AI tends to favor. And on the basis of 3 of those market-leading AI detection tools that we ran them through, they thought that it was 90+%.
But let's pretend he actually wrote it. He wants you to know that quitting doesn't mean he's guilty. Don't mistake this for accepting the narrative, he says. But here's the problem. Cambridge, his own university, just opened a brand new investigation, not the old one, a fresh one, into his qualifications and whether evidence was fabricated. And within hours of that news, he was gone, resigned immediately. So think about the timing. He didn't quit when the first accusations dropped. He didn't quit through weeks of headlines. He quit the moment a real independent investigation came knocking. And that's the one that he couldn't control. People who can prove they're innocent usually stay to prove it. You fight, you clear your name. You don't walk away from the biggest job of your life and call it healing. He read the room, he saw what was coming, and he got out first. So like I said before, a man doesn't give up the biggest job of his life over a misunderstanding. He gives it up when he knows what's coming. You can still say it's allegations. Cambridge never finished its review. One university did clear him earlier, but come on, I don't agree with that at all. Listen, 188 sentences, most likely he lifted a lot of work from this lady. We can do the math. We can look at 188 matching sentences and one of the 100 billion odds and think for ourselves. Again, this is not a gray area. This is not a oops mistake. This is a wall that you probably see from space. So he can talk about race, but the real story isn't just one man. It's every big institution that saw the warning signs, the shaky claims, the copied lines, and looked away because the feel-good headline was just too good to check. They wanted a story more than they actually wanted the truth. And that's the real scandal. And that's the part that no one wants to say out loud. But let me know what you guys think about this story in the comments below. Do you believe that he did not plagiarize? Let me know. Thank you for taking time to watch this video, and I'll see you guys in the next video.